Welcome to the erotic Dark Feminine Magic podcast. My name is Crimson, creatrix of eroticism, and I help mystically minded folks awaken their dark feminine magic. Welcome to the portal of enchantment. Welcome, Joy Moates, to the erotic Dark Feminine Magic podcast. It is so amazing to have you with me today. You are actually the first official interview of the Rebooted podcast, so welcome.
Thank you so much. That's exciting, and I'm really happy to be here. I'm excited. So thank you.
Yeah.
It was
I
a beautiful invitation.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, because I invited you. I had asked if you would be on the podcast because we met. You're a member of the multiverse.
Yes.
And that's something that I love about the multiverse is that we have such a interesting and like wise and creative group of mystically minded embodiment folks in there, and I thought you would be the perfect candidate to share your story around your journey with, esoeroticism, but you've been on this journey way before you and I met. So would you like to maybe start off just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Yeah, my journey's been a long one because I'm pretty old now, so it's been a long journey. But it
Do
really
you want
started.
to share also how old you are?
I'm 73.
Which is, I just have to say, I love that you're open about sharing that. I never understood why people, it's always been on women like, oh, a woman never tells her age. Like, why?
I agree because especially the older you get, I find it something to be proud of and actually honor. Because although a lot of people don't get to grow old, it's a privilege to grow older. And yeah, I say own it. Just own it.
Absolutely. And I think in a world where 20-year-olds are getting preventative Botox for aging, I think there really needs to be the more midlifers and crone age women who are really putting themselves out there saying unapologetically, I have no qualms with aging. And
Exactly.
like you said, it's a privilege. And to be seen, like I'm really trying to create platforms where older, wiser women are seen, even because it seems like that's so lacking in society, so that potentially younger people are like, oh, this isn't something that's a bad thing. This is awesome. And I
Exactly.
bet you can never pay me to go back to my 20s.
Me either. Me either. I love
Okay,
it. Every year gets better.
yes, if
And
you
you're
have that mindset and if you
yes.
choose that.
Well, you do have to choose that. And I commend you and honor you, and I'm grateful that you are making that kind of platform because I think it's so necessary. Because we hear 20 and 30-year-olds talking about they're old and what can they do about it, and it's like, oh my goodness, you have no idea. And I'll share with you this a mantra that I've been using the last year or two because it kind of goes in with that about, yeah, I am getting old. I look different. I am different, but I'm the same person, really, inside. But my mantra is my body is well lived in and well loved. So it reminds me that even though, yes, aging is showing on my face, on my body, that it's not, I don't look at it as aging. I look at it as a life well lived. Everything that we do, that we live, shows up in our body, on our face, inside us. And so I just think, I don't know, I really like that. Have a well lived in and well loved body, and I hope everyone can feel that as they age. Because what's better, you know?
Yeah. And to stay in pleasure in your body, I think when we start to associate aging with being bad, especially physically, and as you get older, you can't move the same way, you can't express the same way, and it doesn't mean that you can't move or express at all if you're lucky, right? And so you just find your personal rhythm and your authentic movement, meeting yourself where you are.
Exactly. That's it. Just meeting yourself where you are and accepting and adjusting to any changes you have to make. It's not a big deal. We always make changes. Most of us through our life and movement have made changes, whether we're injured or I don't know, some people were pregnant, whatever. You have changes that you have to adapt to. So just, yeah, adapting to them and keep on moving.
Right, and not disassociating. Because I
Exactly.
think that's the biggest thing that I notice is as we age, as we start to disassociate more, we start to not identify as someone who is sensual or sexual, or who is a mover, who is a dancer, who is embodied,
Absolutely.
and who these can become, as the word you like to use, the juiciest time in your life if
Exactly.
you set
Yeah.
that intention. So how did you tell us about your journey?
Okay, yeah, we kind of got off that. I started actually just with movement. I grew up in the 50s and 60s, so at that time, women, girls, we didn't do anything. We had PE every now and then, and you could do that if you wanted to. But if you didn't want to do it, you could always say, I'm a girl, I don't want to, and that was okay. It's really weird. But anyway, so I grew up with no movement whatsoever. And at 24, I was working at the University of Georgia, and I come from Athens, Georgia, and a girl I worked with said the running boom had just hit. We were reading about it. She said, let's go try running. And me, I would try anything, but that was an odd one. So we laced up the next day, and, we didn't even have running shoes. I don't know what we ran in. I don't remember. And we went to the Georgia track. I was amazed. I was just 24, so that's young. And I was amazed that I couldn't even make a quarter mile. I was just like dying. But the fun thing was, it didn't matter. I absolutely loved it. And it it was something, because I've always been competitive with myself. It was something like, this is ridiculous. I need to be able to run a mile, surely. So it kept me going so that I could actually eventually run a mile. So I kept it up. My friend didn't go back, but I kept it up by myself. And that started my journey toward just movement in general. And I realized that helped me because I continued with that, and I became a distance runner, running marathons, half marathons. But from that also, I started teaching various kinds of movement. I took up weight training and eventually bodybuilding in some years. And so I just continued on, and I found that I was embodied long before I knew I knew the word embodiment. There was no such word that I know of then anyway. Um, but it enabled me to fully get into my body and actually fall in love with my body for what she was doing. And started teaching like Jane Fonda workouts. That was the first kind of thing, those type workouts. It's that long ago. But it was so fun. We wore those little things, leg warmers and tights and stuff. But it was a lot of fun. So I was teaching at night and taught just about everything except Zumba when that became popular. I didn't teach that. And can I add to that too? Not just my movement, but what brought me to sensual movement. Growing up in the South, the Bible Belt, and my daddy was a preacher, so I grew up in Southern Baptist. I had loving parents, and they were very liberal considering the times and the fact that they were a Southern Baptist preacher and his wife. But you couldn't always have that liberalness within the church community. So I grew up in a typical Southern Baptist community where it seemed like everything I liked to do was a sin. By the time I was 14, everything, it was just like there's nothing you could do that wasn't sinning. So I decided pretty quickly that I liked sinning and I was just going to be a sinner because, I'm not going to give up everything that I enjoy. So that's always, I left that at 17. But I have always loved, because of that, I think the word sinner, the word sin, it comes up a lot in my writing. That was an impetus for me to then, in addition to my movement, because I always felt movement was medicine, but I felt like I just was searching, especially by the time I reached my 30s, for something else. I didn't even know if it was spiritual. I didn't know, but I was looking. So I started teaching yoga and taking yoga. Loved that. And that led me to look into Buddhism and Hinduism. I just took it all in. Started out with atheism, actually, and then went to all of them to see what fit. And I found Tantra. And once I found Tantra, I was like, I learned that there were people who felt that erotic energy was a life force, and that sex could both be kinky and sacred all at the same time. And I was like, I have found my religion. This is it, you know? It's just like, oh my God, I've come home. So that, the Tantra, I did a lot of studying in Tantra with several different teachers. All of it, most of it online or through books. Um, and that led me into, we had a little bit of movement through that, but it was mostly just moving the energy through, you know. So that was actually my very start of anything that seemed somewhat sensual in my movement. And then I still wanted more after a little bit of that. I wanted something by the time I found you, which was I think a little over a year ago. I wanted I wanted to move out. Sacred is good, and I love sacred, and I have rituals all the time. But I was ready to move into something a little more erotic, a little dirtier, for a good word. You know, a little more just like, ooh, yeah, that's titillating. And I found you just, I don't think it was accident. I think it was just meant to be. I was scrolling through Instagram one day and found you. And then, you know, finally decided to come and join the multiverse. And I've just been in heaven. I mean, yeah, you present for me anyway exactly what I wanted. That eroticism that we can move, and I don't do well with structure. I like to have the freedom to move my body, and you provide all of that, and you provide the witchiness that goes with it too, which I really wanted. So thank you for you kind of combined everything for me: the sensual movement, the eroticism, the freedom that comes with just moving your body the way you want to, the belief that our eroticism is our life force, because I'm a big believer in that. So that's how I came to multiverse and to you, especially to you. I came just because of you and your movement, but I just love it. I just love it. It's been
I
fabulous.
mean, your movement is absolutely intoxicating, we'll say, as well. And that's really interesting because I felt the same way when starting to study more Tantra. And I am have nowhere close to as much study or wisdom as you do. So actually this is great to engage with you about. But I always felt that it was lacking like the feminine embodied pleasure from a more sovereign perspective. And I know that, Eastern, it is a lot of more spiritual, and
Yes, it
you're
is.
using techniques like breath and
Mm-hmm.
not dance necessarily as we do. And then I know that the West has kind of co-opted it from like a very like sex type
Yeah.
of
And I
especially.
like that part too.
Yes. Yes, and it's like there feels like there is not the sexuality, like you said, like the dirtiness, the primalness, that is independent and sovereign. And it seems like those sovereign techniques are very like breath work and energy visualization and things like that. And so it does kind of feel like in the middle a little bit.
I thought so too. And even though they talk a lot, that's where I first learned about Shakti and feminine energy. Still, some of the practices felt, even though they'd let, you're supposed to move your hips and all a little bit with the breathing, it was still very masculinized to me in some ways. You're more still, well, you weren't necessarily silent because we use the throat chakra, but still, yeah, I had to venture into the Western portion of it really to find a little more sexuality, a little more movement for women, a little more of the feminine. But I do think, yeah, when I first started it, and what I found then was a little masculine. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted, because most of us move in a very masculine way. We do, even in movement. I'm a huge runner still, and I don't necessarily consider that masculine, but it's linear and repetitive, and the fluidity of feminine movement is so powerful, so powerful.
And I love that you share because I think people are so attach any movement practice to something that is your one and only, and that is your thing. And when people like, I work out, I'll lift weights, I like to go for jogs. there's in Austin I played with, and growing up I've done, boxing and all
Yeah,
different. I used to run, to be a distance runner also. I played sports growing up, all that. And I still work out my body, and that's not in opposition to my esoeroticism practice. Like, you can do both, and you're not cheating on your esoeroticism if you're also trying to like build muscle or stay flexible or just keep your cardiovascular up through jogging or something,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they're not mutually exclusive, and I love that you brought that up, that there, you don't dismiss one for the other. But I think people are so big on prioritizing the masculine forms of
I
movement
do too.
because
Yeah,
they're externally rewarding, and
they're not
you can
scary usually.
they're not, yeah, it's like, I need to beat this time, or I need to go look, like, it's
Yeah,
almost, you have this external reward. Okay, I went the extra distance. Oh, I got a
yeah,
bigger bicep. Oh, and so you have that external achievement to move towards, where with the feminine, it's all internal achievement, and it's not so quantifiable, and it's not so visible to the outside world in
exactly.
terms of non-energetics, right? Like, it'll
Yes,
be recognizable, but it's energetic, and it's very hard to show that on an Instagram reel. Like, actually, look, I slept well last night, and I feel lit up this morning, and I feel extra creative, and I'm not judging my body for its roles, and like all of these things that are kind of internal things versus like, I'm wearing a size 6 in my
exactly.
pants now.
Yeah, exactly. You're so right. Yeah, there's a huge difference, and I think our culture just tends to go. It's easier to go to the other one, like you say, the quantifiable results. And I think people just there's so much of it out there. They see it, they know it, they recognize it, and I think it's hard for women. I think it's hard for women to get into their bodies. I think it's a little bit scary, and so the whole thing is like, But yeah, you need it all. Especially, I believe, as you're aging, you want to be able. Health is the most important thing we have. To be able to move. That is my number one priority. Is to still be able to move 20 years from now. So to do that, you got to have a little of everything. But I do believe the sensual movement, the more feminine movement, is it's powerful all the time. But even as we get older, I feel it's really helped my body. And my body's very strong. It's, cardio capable from all those years, but it's loosened me up. It's made me feel so much freer in movement. And that's a beautiful thing, even if that were the only benefit. And it's certainly not, you know.
Yeah, you're right, because you can put all of the eggs in one basket where you're just working on the physical fitness. And if you're still feeling numb and dull, and you don't know pleasure, and you don't know the feeling of the life force pulsing through your body, and you don't know what it's like to be turned on in your own energy, that's kind of boring.
It is
That's,
boring.
you
It is
know,
very boring. And it gets worse. I think the more I see people aging around me, it, oh, I can't think of the word I'm trying to say, but they become more aware of it, that they're getting dull and there's nothing to life. And that's not true. That is not true at all.
there's
But you have
nothing more
to,
depressing.
exactly. You have to, I'm a big believer and have been for years that you got to turn yourself on, no matter your age, whatever it is. And movement, but especially sensual movement, is a beautiful way to turn yourself on, you know?
Yeah. And that's the problem with the tantric, where it's all partner based, or even if it's
Mhm.
all just, orgasmic of some
Right.
sort. Like, to me, the dance is really powerful outside of, some kind of physical stimulation, like,
Yes.
because you can do it in community. You can do it with, with a coven, or out in nature. I mean, I guess you could have sex out in nature too, but you know what I
That's
mean.
true.
Like, doing it as
Yeah.
dance makes it a lot more accessible to like a greater population, but it has the added bonus of like, okay, now you're also like connecting with other people, and there's power in that too.
There's a lot of power in that. Yeah, I think it's just beautiful because it can be, even as I've told you, and one of the classes I did with you not too long ago, it was almost orgasmic. You can have,
Mhm.
the energy that it provides. That's pretty much the kind of orgasm I'm talking about, the
Yeah.
energy that it provides. So you get one, like anything else, what you put into it or what you come with and want and desire, but it's extremely, extremely powerful. And like you say, you can do it with others, you can do it alone, you can anytime you want. You know,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
powerful to just put on. I do that all the time. Just put on a song and spend 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Whether it's
Same.
on the floor or around a pole or just dancing. It's very powerful. You can feel your
Yeah.
feminine body.
Yes. And to me, I had said before, there's nothing more depressing to me than just believing that you are just your mental state, or that your body is a cage, or that you, as you age, you just have to kind of fade out, that your energy has to deplete. And you are living proof that you have a lot of life force. And in fact, you channel a lot of your life force and your eroticism into poetry.
Yes, I do. I think that's one of the most important parts, I think, of even that Tantra taught me. And the work that we do here in sensual movement is that you take that energy. It's for so much more than sex. It is your life energy. So I put mine into writing mostly and drawing and painting sometimes. But you put it into your relationships, you put it into everything. It is your life force. It's what makes you glow. It's that aura and that magnetism that you're talking about that people can actually feel and see. And it's just powerful. And I don't think you have, in my opinion only, obviously, but I don't think anyone has a life well lived if they can't use that. They don't know how to use that erotic energy, that sexual energy, and put it out into the world. It heals not only you, but it heals other people. It's just amazing. So I don't know why we don't all do that. I don't know why it's not like news that use your erotic energy. You don't have to have sex if you don't want to. If you want to, that's great. But use it. It's so powerful. And I
Yeah.
think it keeps you young because it's just, again, that vitality, that vibrance, that juiciness that I don't think anything else can give you. I don't.
And it's self-sourced. I
Yeah,
think so many people are looking for something outside themselves, whether it is a partner, or whether it is
yes.
an injection, or it is a pill, or whatever. They're
Yeah,
looking for something outside of themselves when it's literally within you and just needs to be cultivated.
exactly. It's right there, just right under the surface. And she really wants you. She really wants you to open her up. And it's not hard. I don't think. I don't think it's hard. I don't think it's difficult. You have to come with openness, obviously. But yeah, it's just right below the surface of you is all that vibrancy, just waiting, all that sensuality. I believe that life is just one big sensual experience, or it should be. That's how it should be.
Joy,
That's what we're here to do.
imagine if everyone had that viewpoint or that ethos. I don't think there would be wars. I don't think that we would be, hating on our brothers and sisters and
Exactly.
fellow humans. Like, you would just be like, it's
I
so
agree.
good to meet you. It's so good to, like, how could we all make this world better for all of us? Not, this is my little piece of the pie, hands off. And
Exactly. I want this.
yeah.
No, I agree. I think it'd be a beautiful place. I really do. And I think that's what we should try to strive for. But
When
it definitely
you're
would make a difference.
Yeah, and when your pleasure is running over, when you're feeling what you're saying, this juicy lit upness, you really have no like subconscious fear-based programming that's telling you that I need more. If that makes sense, like I'm thinking of like the grander picture where there must be a deficiency in this kind of fear-based scarcity that is all around us, that is having us treat our fellow humans like animals, like subpar. And I mean, we shouldn't treat animals that way either, but you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I think leadership that comes from a disembodied place, a lack of pleasure, a lack of vitality is really, it will manifest as fear-based, as scarcity-based, and that's when we make some really kind of less than savory decisions, and
I
projections.
agree. I agree because I think it is fear based. May not be. I think most everything is either fear based or love based, and I think that is definitely fear based.
Yeah,
Whether you realize it if you're coming from that or not, I do think it is. And when
yeah,
you're coming from love based, whether you're leading, following, teaching, it's you you're giving people too the freedom to be themselves.
yeah.
That's so important to take what I say, what resonates with you, and then do what you want to do with that. But you have the freedom. It's not dictated. It's not,
Yeah.
yeah, dictated mainly.
I think sovereignty is a really, really big part of it. And, we say in esoeroticism, awaken your innate power, pleasure, and potential. But what isn't revealed until you experience the practice is that that power isn't based on manipulating others. It's literally based on finding sovereign connection to yourself and being in control of yourself and recognizing and with that becomes like the pleasure, they're all connected. But I think that we misunderstand the word power
Yeah.
because we think that it's a form of manipulation or control, but true power is that sovereignty, that recognizing the personal power within yourself, and having practices and being surrounded by people who believe that too. I think it's really, I'm so curious, like, what does your community look like? Do you find, because you're down south, and so I'm wondering, do you find a connection with like-minded individuals with that, or?
I definitely have to some extent. I definitely have a community of people who are very positive people who believe in positive energy and are just basically happy people. And they move in different ways. But I have missed, as I grew older, especially, I've missed, and that was one of the things I was thinking maybe I could find in yours in Multiverse. Um, just being able to talk about sex, about sensuality, about those kind of things in life. I don't, it's hard to find women, even my closest friends. That's a difficult conversation sometimes for people. And I find that sad. So I wish more of us in the world would get comfortable talking about things like that, embracing that in ourselves, whether, we feel like it's not going so well or it's going great, whatever, just to have conversations about it and about sensuality and living sensually rather than productively.
Living sensually rather than productively.
Yeah.
Because what I think you recognize, I'm 45, so I'm, a midlifer it would be called. And the more and more that I live, and hopefully I have a lot more living to do, you do recognize that you are actually unique in this world if you have that kind of energy of not putting all of your attention on being productive, on achieving, on gaining status of some sort, on external validation, having to look
Yeah.
a certain way, having to be received a certain way. Being happy is really the ultimate goal, and it's an inside job.
Isn't it though? But that's what people I think lose, or maybe they don't lose it, they just don't know it yet. They haven't found it, that you can't get that from things and people. It has to be an inside job. And it's really not that very difficult when you, as you were saying about power, you find that power within you, which is not manipulative at all. It's just actually confidence. It's confidence to set your own boundaries, to walk your own path. Because I find that so many people, even, and it gets, most people as they get older, they will give up some of those restrictions and live a little more of their own. But a lot of people don't live their own life really. They live and have lived, what is expected of them by culture. And I think you and I both were, I didn't have children because I didn't want to have children. And that was unheard of in the early 70s, it's just like, or even maybe through the 80s. So, and just, and that's not the only thing, but just walking your own path, not looking for a job that's going to, probably not even sticking with jobs. It was me. I didn't stick with jobs very long. But just that of not following the same path all along, doing it your way and being confident doing it that way. That is the power that we get from being in our bodies and loving our bodies, loving ourselves, I think.
Yeah. When you're not in your body, you can't listen and hear those subtle messages that it's sending you intuitively of like, head in this direction. This probably doesn't feel good. So I think a lot of times, like you said, like that, I have to give you so much credit for choosing. I also never wanted children and am very happily childless. And I think that a lot of times we fall into the trappings of, well, this is what's expected of me by society. Not, and we love our mamas and we love,
Sure. Yeah.
everyone in between and our
Yeah.
papas and our, everyone, whatever their reproductive decisions
Sure.
are. And so, but I think, or say it's, I'm going to be a lawyer and, you don't want to be a lawyer, or whatever these decisions you start making for some kind of external validation, your body will inherently tell you, this is not for me. I don't want to do this. And so we disassociate, because you asked before, like, why aren't we in our bodies? We disassociate from our bodies because we're making these decisions that our body is telling us no. So instead of listening to it, we turn it off and silence it so we can meet those external expectations, whether that is with our work, whether it's our
Yeah.
family, our relationships, whatever. I mean, I just feel like you have found your way. You live up to your name, Joy. You're always joyous. And I know you're still working and you're still living life because it sounds like you created a life that lights you up.
I have. And I think that's what everybody needs to do. Find a life, no matter your age, that lights you up, turns you on, that you look forward to getting up in the morning. And yeah, I do feel like I have that life. I've had, as we all have, I've had traumas and troubles, but you just keep going, and you know that if you're listening to your body, you're making the right decisions for you, and that's the most important thing, I think. And you can set boundaries, and yeah, all that makes for a life that you just love. And I think when you love your life, that means you give people permission to love their life. And again, you're spreading that just by being who you are, just by enjoying and loving what you do, the passion that you bring to things. I don't think there's anything better. And yet, I think that is our own responsibility. Well, I think we have to create that ourselves. Obviously, circumstances inflict themselves upon us. We get that. So I'm not being like way up in the clouds there. Oh, But within that, as I tell my students, it's how we react, how we respond. We can't always choose what happens to us, but every one of us can control and choose how we wish to feel about it, approach it, work with it, or feel victimized if you choose that route. So we have, that's the most powerful choice we have. And I think that goes back to the power, knowing that we have that power. We do have the power to choose within that how we feel about it, what we're going to do about it. And I'm also a big believer in feeling all your emotions. You don't hide them. If you are sad, you you cry. You cry really hard. If you're angry, you rant. Maybe not at someone though. Learn to put that energy in different ways. But feel it and then make your choice. Do I want to stay here or do I want to move to something else? And I think that's a powerful, powerful choice that we have.
I think that a lot of people don't realize you can make those personal decisions and
Yeah.
that you actually are the one. I always say the hardest part, and tell me if you agree with this, the hardest part of being a teacher or a guide or a mentor in what we do, embodiment and and dark feminine work, is actually not being able to do the work for our people. Like,
Yes. Isn't it
I
though?
just I want you to, like, but I can't, I literally can't do it for you. I am not, that's why I love the word healing, because it's such like a beautiful, powerful word, but I think people need to recognize that you have to be a participant in your healing.
Exactly. You have to. I mean, it boils down to that. I think you have to really help heal yourself. Nobody can do it for you. And I think you're so right, because we know how beautiful it is, how wonderful it is, how powerful it is, how good it is. And we want everyone to feel that way. And then when we have some students maybe who are just aren't grasping it, or yeah, you really want to just, oh, I wish I could do this for you so you could see this. But
And just show up, it's so hard to get people to show
show
up.
up. Exactly. That's it. Just to show up and say, I'm curious. Let's try this. What's it gonna, how's it gonna feel? What am I gonna do? And then keep showing up, you
Yeah.
know? Because I'm
I
sure for some people, I'm sure it is very scary, depending on what you've been through in life and how you've lived your life. But you got to keep showing up, and then you're like, wow, I have, and I know you have. I've seen that transition in some, where it's like they're new people. She's a new woman. She's finally remembered, and I put it as remembering. You remember who you are. Remember who you are. It's not something new. It's not something you take on or you buy. It's inside you, that she is in there, and she wants to be remembered.
Yes. Oh, it is a remembering. It's not like oh, you're becoming a false self or an
Exactly.
it's no, like this is you just more further realized. This is you with layers of the onion peeled away.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of this work is peeling off the layers that aren't us, that people associate with us because that's how we were projecting at some point in time. Oh,
Exactly.
you're the tomboy, or you're the smart one, or you're the one that you were always going to be a doctor. You're the one who's the nurturer and the caretaker, so therefore you can't be also sexual.
So true. So true. We also have, I think, in our culture and maybe throughout the world, that dichotomy. We believe, or a lot of people believe, that you can't hold both. And we know that you can. You hold so much of contradictions in your body, good contradictions. You can be this and that. You can be this and that. You can feel joy. You can feel pain. You can feel sorrow. You can feel rage. You can be this and you can be that. And it still be you, because we're multifaceted. We are human. And that's what being human is. It's not like a robot. You know, we
Yeah.
feel, we are.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I think that is also speaking of, aging, another gift that comes with aging is the ability to see nuance
yes.
and the ability to say I can be this and that, and that humanity is complicated and messy and a bit chaotic, and this is not something to hold against someone, but to connect and say I see your humanity. And
Exactly.
um yeah, I think, I see in the younger generation that it's just so black and white sometimes, and it's just because it's not a life lived yet. I
Yes.
have set the intention that I really only want to be learning from people who are older than me, people who have lit with more life experience than me, because I think there is so much that you can't teach, or you can say the words, but it's not gonna resonate because you just haven't moved through life in that way where you've had that experience yet. There's something just so beautiful about getting older. It just feels like if you're open to it, right, and if you're showing up and doing the work and not trying to put it on someone else, that you accept the messy humanness and the contradictions,
Yes.
as you said.
No, I agree with that. And I just think it gets easier as you get older. Because, yeah, you've lived a lot, you've seen a lot, you've been through a lot, and you know that. You've built your own resilience, you've seen your own messiness, and you've lived it. And you're willing, if you're open to that, to let other people be their own messy self. And there's
Yeah.
nothing I love better than messy. I love messy everything. I'm a messy person, I guess, in a good way. But messy is good. Messy is human. Messy is how we feel sometimes, often. Messy is good.
It's
We
the
we put
creative
way too
process.
much on perfectionism and looking a certain way and being a certain way, and just be your fucking self. Be messy if you're messy. That's okay. Messy is good. Whoever said messy was bad anyway? I
Well,
wonder.
and I think, generations growing up on seeing end results on social media feeds and not realizing, because messy is the creative process. Anyone who's created
Yeah,
anything, it's not linear. Creation is not linear. It's so non-linear, and there's so much that doesn't work before you find what works. Tell us about the poetry, because you're in a book and you're publishing, you're going to be in another book, and we have in the multiverse, we have Creatrix Coven, which is like our hour every month
I
where we
love
sit
that.
and create. I know. And you're like, well, I'm editing this poetry, I'm editing this book, and it's doing things and taking things away and altering it, and like, but you got to put the mess out there to hone it in. Tell me about this.
And you're so right, but as you know, creativity, anything you're creating, you have that messy part. And I believe there's a whole lot of surrender to that too. If you don't just surrender to whatever comes out your hand in the writing, I believe in writing by hand at first, because it comes from your body into the paper. But you've got to surrender to that, and you've got to know it's going to be messy, and you just got to live with it. And it'll be messy, most likely, and it'll be messy for a while. But yeah, then you start to, you go back and you look at it, and it just feels really good. I personally don't find the editing quite as fun because it's a little more structured, but
Yeah.
it's got to be done too. But yeah, this will be my third book. I've written, my first book was in 2020, um, Embracing Your Wild Feminine. And I love that book. And I don't know, it just came to me that I really wanted to write that, mostly for my students. That's why I wrote it. Um, and then the
When you
second
say
one,
your students, who are you teaching? Just so the
those
audience.
were my yoga students then, my yoga students. Most of them women. And the book is for women, although I talk about it in there because it comes a good bit from what I took from Tantra. Um, but and some of my students were men, and they read it too. But anyway, I
Sorry
love
to
them.
interrupt. I just want to make
No,
sure we
that's all
got your
right.
full story. What's the second book?
But that was like the first book was just like one that just I felt really needed to be out there, and it's pretty general of finding that life of embracing your wild feminine. And the second book is more just it's called Naked, and it's just erotic poetry, mostly erotic, and mostly, as I said on the cover, on my what I have experienced as erotic. And I feel like all people should dive into their own desires and find their own eroticism. And this third one is going to be a little of eroticism and a little kind of, I would call it magical in some ways. It's more about how to poetry on, and it's narrative poetry on how to live a sensual life every day. How to take that magic, that sensuality, that eroticism into daily life. So that even mundane things. So that's kind of how this third book is.
Uh,
Maybe just a big mix, but it does have some just pure eroticism. And I always tell people about that just in case, because, some people are kind of turned off by stuff like that. So, and
yeah.
this one doesn't, its working title is something like Seductive Magic or something, but it doesn't have a pure title yet.
Uh, the title always the title always presents itself
Yes, it
at the
will.
right time. So
It
I
will.
believe that. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for this third one to come out. Like a reference book on, you have to call it juicy, or you have to have juicy somewhere in
I
there.
did
How to
think
live
that,
juicy
yeah.
life.
Since I use that word all the time, it
I
does need to
know.
be. And it's about how to live juicily, I guess is the
Yeah.
word.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. That you are embodying what you teach, which is living the sensual, creative life. And yeah, I really, look up to you, Joy.
Ah, Crystal, thank you. You're so sweet. And I look up to you too, even though might be a difference in age there. But yeah, you've taught me a lot, and I just I feel like we have a lot in common, and want to get all that goodness out into the world of women that we
Yeah.
can.
Do you, I mean, you've growing up in the 50s and 60s to now, do you really feel like I have this belief that I keep talking about that we're on a precipice that we no, we're not on the precipice. We're in we're in the recreation, the death has happened, we're in a rebirth, and that there really is more of like a feminine society emerging right now that just isn't recognized because there's such a death rattle from the patriarchy. Is that something that you can disagree?
No, I do. I do definitely agree. And having lived through the 60s and the 70s, the early 70s anyway, it almost, I don't know, it just feels almost like we're having to go back and redo all that again. Obviously, it's different, but I do
Yeah.
feel like in the 60s and 70s, women made some, there were different kind of games, but we made some really big games that we needed. And now here we are again. We need to, the feminine leadership needs to stand up. And even, I mean, that doesn't mean that men can't lead in I'm sure they don't want to call it a feminine way, but a masculine way that is good for people. You know,
Empathetic, that
yes,
is
empathy,
emotionally mature, emotionally
exactly,
integrated.
exactly. And I do think that's happening. I wish it were happening faster, uh, quicker.
Right.
I want to see it.
Right. And you know what? It's almost like the 60s was first wave
Yes,
feminism. And
yeah,
I'm not like super versed in feminism, so hopefully I'm getting this right. But from what I understood, you see this in any kind of change. The first wave is never the ultimate goal. We just needed to get voices in the room. We needed to be
exactly.
able to be allowed to get a bank account without a father or a
Exactly. A credit
partner.
card, a bank account. I could get married, but I couldn't have either one of those.
You couldn't
It's
have a
just
bank account, or what was the other one? A car?
a credit card
A credit card.
in my name.
Yeah. Isn't
Yeah.
that wild? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so you've been through that. So it was like we just needed to get our foot in the door. We needed to have a voice. And a lot of that, what that required was a woman being a man. Like,
Man. Exactly.
yeah, I have to have
Exactly.
my power suit and I have to talk like
Yeah.
a man and act like a man. And I actually think a lot of the gender fluidity that's coming up now is a
Hmm.
result of like next wave, where it's like it's not like that anymore. Like
Right.
we all need to be integrating our feminine and masculine, and
Yeah.
that's kind of, we can see that as a result of that work, which is now like the genders are more fluid
Exactly.
and more intertwined, and we're seeing that within us. So I think that's a really cool thing that I've observed.
I do too, and I like that. I like the way you look at that because I think that's very true. And I do think women, it went too far, but it was almost like it was required, or a lot of people thought it was required. You got to be a man or act just like a man to get anything that you want, and
Yeah.
which isn't good. So,
Yeah, it was phase one, but the
yeah,
phases have to continue. And
but we
so,
never would have gotten even to here if we hadn't had that. We had to have the
exactly.
voice, you say. Yeah.
Exactly. So again, when people try to like revisionist history or try to shit on like the way, like you weren't there, that's the way that it had to go in
Yeah.
order to get to you to have the rights that you have now. That
Yeah.
came from, the people that came before us and fought this fight before us, and it was a different fight. So
Yeah.
it's a privilege to now be able to push things further. So yeah,
Further. Yeah. Go a little further with it. Hopefully a lot further with it.
a lot
And
further, and like,
embrace everyone, you know.
and from like, and again, if you're numb in your body, it's real easy to feel totally okay with treating other humans without dignity. And when you are in your body, you're associated with your body, you're not numb. When you're feeling your emotions, like you said, but when you're connected to a greater humanity instead of shut off, then you start treating people better and you start making decisions for the greater good. And that's always how a matriarchy is. Matriarchy is not the opposite of patriarchy. Matriarchy is actually looks out for the greater good of all.
Everyone.
And I always say, so I had a conversation with a fellow business owner recently, and we were saying the difference between embodiment and disembodiment and, feeling and disassociating. And I was saying, I feel like as someone who's just doing virtual right now, my biggest challenge and my biggest adversary is, or competitor, I'm competing with numbing scrolling and like Netflix and chill. Anything that's disassociative is my biggest competitor. I don't have other competitors in the online space, because to me we're all in the trenches together, just trying to
I
people
agree.
to choose embodiment and expression over disassociation and numbing. And I'll tell you what, the mindless scrolling and the Black Mirror screens, it's tough. It's a tough one to break away from. And so that's why this work we do is challenging.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's getting more so, and it's to the detriment of our entire society. It's very sad to me to see that happening. But yeah, and I guess some people are just so tired that numbing feels good. I don't know, but there's a lot of that. And there's so little connection with other people, even. I mean, you just look around, and even if people are together, they're on their phone, so they're separate. They are not
Yeah.
together.
And I
It's so
don't
bizarre.
think the technology's going anywhere.
Yeah,
So it's us, up
yeah.
to us to have, like, I think you and I are so connected and we've never met in person and
Right.
we dance
Exactly.
together. And, we have very similar astrology, we realized also. But yeah,
Yes,
it's not that the technology, it's how we engage with the
it
technology and it's
is.
the
Yeah.
consciousness of it. And you can absolutely engage in technology in a really empowering way. But it goes back to what you said, people are tired. Is it because they're lacking that life force vitality that
Yes,
you started
exactly.
off
That
talking
is so
out with? It circles right back to the beginning of the discussion, Joy,
exactly,
which is your
exactly.
sexuality is your life force, your eroticism is your vitality. And
Yeah.
this is like the number one way, or number one reason I think that if you want to like create a life that you love, like
Mhm.
having a devotion to some kind of erotic cultivation is essential.
Yeah, I do too. And if they would just put their phones away, put their devices away, and it's fun. It's fun to work on your, I don't even want to call it work, to play with your erotic potential in so many ways, because the whole world is erotic. It depends on how you look at it. It's not, we tend to put things in boxes, I think, and it's not in this little box that we take out, I don't know, 3 times a week or whatever. You know, it's everywhere. It is, the breath you take can be erotic. A lot of eroticism starts in your mind, and then you bring it into the body. So yeah, and you're not
Yeah,
going to find it on that gadget
you're
unless
not.
we're connecting like this and we're dancing, things like that. You're actually connecting. You're not numb,
Yeah.
as you say.
Yeah, yeah. Are you choosing, what is your integration with technology? Is it to numb or is it to feel? Is it to connect or is it to disassociate?
Yeah,
Is it to steal your creativity or is it to cultivate your creativity?
exactly. Inspire you, or are you going to steal it? Yeah,
Yes. Oh my
that's
gosh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all part of, again, like we're the only ones that can do the work. We're the
Yeah.
only ones that can decide how we consciously engage. We're the only ones, because we don't need like a daddy to come and say no technology for you. Like, we're sovereign beings. This is the personal power thing, is
Yes, it
that we're
is.
sovereign. We have the sovereign personal power to choose. I'm not going to engage in technology in a way that is disassociative. I don't want to live in a society where I am unconscious of making these decisions and someone has to tell me and I have to follow the rules.
Exactly. I mean, why would
Personal
anyone
power.
want to have to do that? You know,
Yeah.
that's your
Yeah.
own power.
It's
And that's
not
part of
being.
being free, is to be able to make that choice. So maybe more
Yeah.
people will begin to make that choice, I hope.
Well, hopefully if they listen to you and they start to be inspired to make some changes based on you because you are so wonderful. And this, I mean, I could talk to you forever and ever.
I know this one.
But yeah, I want to shift into the questions that I'm going to be asking all of the guests who we have onto this podcast. So the first one is, what is your personal mantra or source of daily inspiration?
So I have tons of mantras. I have a house full of chalkboard walls that I write on. I think words are so powerful. But one of the ones that I use almost daily is I am a juicy, sensual, untamed woman who follows her desires. It's just simple, but it reminds me that I'm in charge of that, you know, and this is what I am. I think mantras, any words, they're so powerful. And we either create our life or destroy our life and others with our words. So words are powerful.
Oh, that's a good one, and I love that. And I did not know this about the chalkboard walls. That's brilliant. I love when I go into someone's house and they have like the post-it notes up, and it's like that's consciousness because they're recognizing I want to
Yes,
interrupt unconscious
exactly.
patterns with intention. So, and
Exactly. Oh,
words
I
can do
love
that.
it. I love it. You can just write anything you want, and then when you see it, you know, you're like, yeah, and then you erase it, you write something else. So it's perfect.
Yes. I love it. All right. So, next question. What is your favorite sensuous indulgence?
Okay, so I know that we both say, and we really try to get it across, that sensuality is different than sexuality.
Yeah.
Maybe not different, but sensuality is not just sexuality, which is what our culture sometimes thinks. It's everything. As I said, I think the world is sensual. But that said, I do find that sex is my favorite sensual indulgence, if you want to call it that, sensual act, because it's you are so embodied. You are so embodied that every one of your senses is stimulated, every one of them. And with whether you're with a partner or by yourself, I'm not talking you have to be partnered. You can be by yourself, but you have that extended time when you can just be this delicious body. And I just think it's phenomenal. Well, it's a great way to create that energy and then store it up and send it out. But I also have another one, which is
Okay.
non-sexual. For those people who just think, well, okay. Um, when my mango tree is fruited and I go pick a mango off the tree, I bring it into the kitchen, rinse it off, and I'm just over the sink, just biting into it. It is so juicy. It's hot from the sun, and you got delicious juice running down your chin, running down your fingers. It is so sensual and so tasty, and then you get to lick your fingers, and I'm a big person. I love to lick my fingers, whether it's sweet gooey stuff or whatever it is. So that is my ultimate, I think, that only happens obviously when the mango tree fruits. So it's a few months a year, but it's so fun.
Ah, I love that. Two great answers, two completely valid answers. We do not have to look at it one way or the other. I love that you said but both. And then the final question is, what does living fully in your dark feminine magic look like to you?
I think it's mostly the passion that I have for life that permeates everything I do. She allows me to have that. She gives that to me. She also gives me the presence to let life seduce me, because I think we have to be open to letting life seduce us and then seducing life back. And she also makes me bold enough to live my eroticism in my own way and not worry about what anyone thinks. So she's very powerful. That alone is very powerful. And it means a lot to me. I wouldn't take anything for that dark feminine energy. So powerful.
Ah, so good. So good. It is the dark feminine is the void of endless potentiality of creation, right? And so, I mean, it makes sense. So, joy, it's been such a joy.
Thank you, Crimson. I've loved it. I've loved it.
Thank you so much for joining, and I'm just so grateful to be doing this work with you. I always love when you are live in classes and getting to dance and move together. So thank you for taking the time. I think this is your first podcast, right?
Oh, yes, yes. I was quite nervous, but you've made it so easy and so fun. I really enjoyed it, and I love taking your classes. I love being a part of the multiverse. So thank you so much. Your
Thank-
guidance, your teaching is absolutely beautiful, and I love the way you make us feel. So thank you.
well, and we're gonna have you have to teach for us sometime soon too, because I've been craving to take a class with you, and I know you're only teaching in person right now, but we may change that a little bit. So,
Good luck with that. I don't
yeah,
do so well with technology. I try to keep up with everything, but
yeah. I was gonna ask, like, if people want to find you, do you have an Instagram? Do you have a website, or is it like just come hang out with you on the multiverse?
yeah. Buy my book, and actually, my
I
book
would get
goes
the
with
book.
a website on it. I did have a website till last year, and I just let that go. And I have an Instagram account, but I've never posted. I could probably use some encouragement. I need my dark
Ah,
feminine to make me bold enough to post on that.
if no, you're writing books, you're doing things. So yes, search for Joy Moates and grab a book. And Joy, thank you. I love you deeply and
Thank
sincerely. And thank you,
you.
everyone who's listening or watching. Mwah!
Thank you,
Bye.
Crimson.
Thank you for joining. Follow me on Instagram at crimson.minx and visit soerotic.com to learn to live more fully and unapologetically in your magnetic power, sensual pleasure, and unlimited creative potential.